You're probably one of the most open people about their funnel and like how things work.
I have no reason to gatekeep anything.
Somebody who's watching this, in theory, could like take the things we talk about and have a business that is doing $500,000, $1 million a year, just using the principles that you have kind of all put out everywhere that we're going to talk about today.
That is what playing this game at a high level looks like. If I learn how to run paid ads and can convert people who've never heard of me before to buy something from me, I don't think there's a higher leverage skill on earth than that.
The ability to tell yourself to keep going, I think, is so important. Before it really hit, what were you telling yourself?
Good question.
All right, so today we're hanging out with Dickie Bush. Dickie runs a portfolio of businesses that teach other people how to write. They're doing just under $10 million a year. And his story, I think, is insane. He goes to fancy smancy Princeton, undergrad, goes to Wall Street, and then he says, no, fuck all that. I want to build a bootstrap business. And he goes from $0 to $1 million in a year. And so we're going to jam on building an audience of hundreds and thousands of people, and how if you can master two really important skills, copywriting and paid marketing, you can basically get anybody to buy anything from you. That's the promise of the video. Let's see you inside. So you did a podcast a year ago that I watched by a guy that you and I both think is awesome, this guy, Brett. And at the time you were doing $500,000 or $600,000 a month. It's like roughly a year later. How much you do now?
We are right. I'll quote trailing 3 months at 650, 670.
Cool.
So not, and it stings to say that a little bit, of very close to the same level, but we've had pops far above that. So if I go trailing 6 months, it's average 750. And then, but that includes end of year stuff where we always have a bump, November, December, people want to make a change, want to start writing and stuff like that. So not huge, but then one thing I think is not talked about enough when people quote these like 100K, 200K, 300K ranges is the actual percentage change of those ranges. Of like 500 to 700 is a 40% lift in your overall revenue. And you've talked about that like year to year. So I think we've just become desensitized to like what actual growth is. And so I've just only looked at like year over year. And so year to date this year, revenue wise, we're up like 15, 20%. I'm like, I'm good with that.
That ain't so bad.
It's not so bad. And obviously we want to be more than that, but no, that's where we're at now.
I take it, man. So I wanted to do this with you for a couple of reasons. I think there's two things that are really dope about you. Number one, I assume most people know you, but if they don't, you have this really cool story. So you were kind of like, you were a banker guy, Princeton finance, like Wall Street guy. And then you 180, you go to like writing, copywriting, like your day-to-day, and you have this capacity to be obsessed. And your first obsession, I think, was writing. The other thing that's really cool is you're probably one of the most open people about their funnel and like how things work. So I think most people who run up crazy revenue like you do, they go, oh, here's the frameworks. Here's how I think about stuff. And like you and Cole and Dan, you're like, no. You want our sales emails? We do $650,000, in a 7-day period during Black Friday. You want our whole Notion planning doc where like we were actually writing out how we're planning that? Yeah, just take it. And so I think this will be cool. There's a bunch of shit we're going to get into, but I think somebody who's watching this, in theory, could like take the things we talk about and have a business that is doing $500,000, $1 million a year, just using the principles that you have kind of all put out everywhere that we're going to talk about today. So no pressure.
No pressure at all. But I think a lot of that sharing is almost a forcing function for me to clarify and get better at doing it. Because whatever I talk about or put out is usually the first time I've tried to distill it. And then only through that distillation, like, oh, there's actually 3 or 4 things that I would change and do better. And then we ship that improvement. And this is all positive sum game. I don't know anyone that actually competes with us on what we do across our different business lines. And we don't look at it like that. Just throw it out there. It's like the people that use it then almost give us credit for it. And that further builds our flywheel of like people putting our stuff into practice. So I have no reason to gatekeep anything in terms of how we do things. And it's just fun to talk about too.
Yeah. So let's do like 650, 700-ish a month. There's a portfolio. How does that break out?
We need to pull up the exact numbers, but it would probably be 4 to 5 roughly on PGA, and then ship 30, start writing online, digital product. We're turning that back into cohort-based course. So zoom out. 5 things. Write with AI, paid AI newsletter, low ticket. Ship 30 / what's about to come is digital writing school. And so that is a cohort-based course into a ongoing writing-based community that will be is something we had. It built a whole business around that from 2021, 2022, before PGA. Turned the cohort off because we wanted to give as much attention as we could to PGA because we needed to get that to a level that we could put department heads in. And I love that we're talking about this, by the way. The whole plan was build that to a level that we could put department heads in. Now that doesn't necessarily run itself, but we have people running each individual vertical of marketing, sales, brand, back-end sales, and student success, and then finance and operations. So we have department heads for all of those. Took a year and a half to do that. And now we can go, okay, why wouldn't we have cohorts going again? Because Cole and I now have more time. So Ship30/digital writing school, $800 cohort-based course, and then $99 a month community. The revenue on the digital product of that, when it was just $350, averaged like $50 to $100K a month, versus when it was a cohort, we would do $400 to $500 a quarter because the cohort plus the back end of that. So we took that revenue way down, knowing that we had to reinvest that time into PGA and building the team up. So that I'm projecting on a cohort basis will go back to that level. And I think if we keep everything the same here, we could be at 800, 900 as a run rate and then have pops over $1 million a month. That's the goal. And then PGA all is probably 70% of our business, 400, 500 a month. And then we will have the next step will be an agency vertical that does what we do on all of our different, because every single one of our businesses is powered by organic social into email course into some kind of weekly newsletter. And we think that our ability to do that for other businesses is high. And there are a lot of people who look at what we do and want what we have organically, and they might have a paid business, they might have who knows what, but they see what we do. And that's the benefit of talking about all the things I talk about. We have inbound of like, hey, could you help us with this? Hey, could you consult with us on that? So that's the current where we're at. We had to stay around this level for a year. And as we, open the podcast with that, I was like, yeah, we are at the same level, but it's a completely different business based on what we have the capacity to do. But now it's more execution risk. And before that, it was like we had to go find the right people. We had to build the systems that allow other people to run these things. Now we have those in place. And so it will be those four. And I'm projecting around, I want to be at $1 million a month consistently on that. And that's the plan. Right now.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got like the pillars of the house will be like agency, will be PGA, so premium ghostwriting. So like that's like teach you how to write for other people. Like you will be paid to be a ghostwriter for other folks.
That's not the agency though. The agency will, okay. So you have agency, PGA, Write with AI, Ship30.
Yeah, Write with AI, which is the subscription newsletter. And then you've got Ship30, which is like, maybe you're writing for yourself, maybe you write for somebody else. Yes. We're going to teach you how to write.
Exactly. Yep.
Why this portfolio? Because I bet a lot of people who end up watching this, like maybe they have a big newsletter, they haven't launched a product, and like that indecision, like that paradox of choice is so hard. How did you choose these?
Well, it's definitely emerged over time. I didn't sit here a year ago or 5 years ago and go, this is going to be the exact portfolio we have. But I look at it as a flywheel. And so we have Ship30, Start Writing Online. Any educational content we put out about building a writing habit, formatting, writing with AI, how to come up with ideas, how to build a niche newsletter. All of that falls into that bucket. So not only, and I'll explain how the flywheel works. We talk about that stuff. We get better at it. We then use that, the things we talk about, to better market our stuff. That brings people into the Ship30 ecosystem. I look at it as three kind of different, not fulfillment models, but options you have when you come into our world. You can write for yourself. That's Ship30 Digital Writing School. You can write for other people, that's PGA, or we can write for you. That's going to be the agency that we'll call Velocity. And having those three, we've actually never formalized that structure in terms of you come to our page, like the digital writing company, and then those are all the things that we could do. Why these different ones is it for a couple of reasons. One, pricing. We have something that's $20 a month. We have a $99 a month community. We have $800 a month or $800 cohort-based course. We have $7,000 group coaching program. We have $10,000 a month consulting / agency service. That kind of strikes the whole balance of all the people who we could help. And so we haven't had those all for sale at one time, but we will. They strengthen one another because we get better at writing. We do something that grows our whole business. We then put that in digital writing school / Ship30. Like here's what we're doing to create social content on Twitter, LinkedIn, X, Twitter and X, same thing, Threads, Substack notes, and whatever all the other platforms are that you could write on. in doing that, it strengthens the flywheel of our educational content being better than anyone else's, which makes that product more valuable. We then go, okay, what are all the things we're doing for ourselves? How can we put modules inside PGA that allow people to build these for other people? So it strengthens the PGA product. People go, okay, cool. I join. Not only can I create all the things that you guys have powered your business, but everything you're doing now on top of that, I get to keep learning those and then keep applying them to other businesses. So that strengthens it. And then lastly, we have the agency, that in having the agency, we have to get clients, we have to fulfill on them, we have to upsell them, we have to cross-sell them, we have to build enterprise value in it. In building that, we then treat PGA and Ship30 almost like a client. And so all the things that we do better there, we then put in PGA as well. We share case studies in PGA. Here's how we're doing it. We have something for people to aspire to. Every single thing we do strengthens the moat that we have. And that's why we have wanted to move in this portfolio-based direction, because now I haven't put like exact terms to it, but we get leverage on every single thing. Every call we have, and where I see this actually going is having some kind of AI model of our education that anyone in our community has access to that's trained on everything we've ever talked about or ever said. And in doing that, we have a moat that other people cannot replicate because they haven't talked about it nearly as much. You can't go and get the proprietary 500 Zoom calls that we've held, 10,000 Zoom calls that we've held talking about this stuff, train an AI model on all of it. And in having access to that, we create even more of a moat. And then every time we have a Zoom call that talks about these things, it strengthens that. And I think we're just kind of engulfing the whole ecosystem for anyone who wants to create any kind of written-based content.
I love that. So two things. It's almost like, generally speaking, in a teaching format, there's a lot of teachers who they teach, but they don't do.
Mm-hmm.
So when you guys are teaching people how to build, let's say, a ghostwriting agency or how to get clients, well, you guys are getting clients in this agency that you're going to launch. I like that. I think that's cool. And the other thing is you're going to kind of AI yourself out of some. There's I was just listening to this podcast that I think Sean Perry was doing with the SaaStr guy.
Yeah,
and
Delphi.
Yeah. And he was basically like, Sean, I had us download like every podcast you've ever done, and we've got you all GPT'd up. And I was thinking about asking you about this investment idea, but I just asked the GPT of Sean. I didn't even need you.
Right.
How cool is that?
And I think that people will try to do that, but you lack like the off-market Zoom calls. You lack the real texture of that. And I think that how you face this existential thing with AI in education. It's like, is that going to replace this? No, it's actually just going to amplify the people who are the best at it.
Yeah.
Because I can now train a model so granularly on the way we think, such that I don't have to repeat myself anymore. If I have answered the question, and this prevents any kind of like burnout or exhaustion on being in this education space, it's like, I've answered that question 500 times and I got to answer it again versus, hey, I'm only going to present net new information from what we're doing across the portfolio. Everything else is stored in a prompt or in an AI chatbot. And if I have that, every student who comes in benefits from all the previous students. And why I like doing these podcasts is I'm talking these out for almost the first time of how these are all going to work together. But that's the current game plan.
Yeah, I like that. Because even in a coaching environment, like you have people who are coming in who are coming out. And so like these calls are these like moments in time, but there's half-lives to that value. Because those people go out, like people come in, they haven't heard anything for the first time. And so your thing is like, how do we keep all that? How do we turn that into an asset?
And it becomes a consumable, which keeps people paying. And I'm part of other masterminds that have rolled that out. Like, of course I want to keep access to this thing. And then you build equity in it because it's got a memory of it. So it remembers other questions that you've asked for it on like more premium versions. So then you have more collateral in whatever you're paying for. It's almost SaaS in that way. So then we also have TypeShare, which is our start writing online based software. So anytime you want to publish to different platforms, and that's grown decently, but not to play SaaS at the highest level. I think you need full attention on it. So I'm not trying to scale that to $1 million a month because that's just difficult. Yeah. And I think we have more to go on the education side, and you can build niche software tools that you embed into your products or newsletters or things like that. And the ease at which you can do that is almost better than charging for the tool itself. I'd rather just give people that are paying like access to the tool. I think it's reverse. A lot of people are trying to bundle SaaS with education, where it's like you pay for the SaaS and we give you the education. I actually think if you pay for the education and give people the SaaS, then SaaS is so difficult to get people to keep paying for. There's so many little moments of frustration that you've used a tool where it crashes on you and you're like, all right, I'm never using this again. And you cannot get that person back. versus education. You just keep giving them good stuff, and they're more lenient if your software is like okay. And that personally, my skill set's not going to be someone who just obsesses over a software-based product as much as I could obsess over information and then have software that aids that. And I think flipping it has been a recent realization for us.
Yeah, I like that because I think often with software, and again, I'm not a software guy, but the hardest part is like the onboarding. And so like there's all these stories of like the superhuman founder, extremely high touch. Let's get on a call, even though you're a $30, $40, $50 per month customer.
Yeah.
But that's largely an unmonetized chunk of time. So if you can monetize that at $800 or PGA at a high ticket price and then get somebody on the software, I think I could see that as a much more efficient like ascension.
Yeah, potentially, but not in the current plan. I think focus more on just creating all these different verticals and having them work within each other. And then if there's a software that helps all of them do it better, that will emerge over time.
I like it. So, okay, so I want to get deep on PGA because I think it's quite interesting. I think most people, if you have any kind of newsletter business or anything like that, I think it's group coaching is hard, but I think in general, the idea of like try to sell something, coaching, a service, something that is higher ticket. Because if you can just get a couple customers, it's so much easier than trying to get, a sponsor for $500. Exactly. It's not worth your time, if you have a tiny newsletter or a small audience. Before that though, so you have all these big businesses, Ship30, which is you're selling your time, but it's indirect. Even the live cohort, it's a group setting, so there's a lot of levers on that time. Versus PGA, which my understanding is you guys are largely out of the fulfillment of. What are the margins on those businesses? Should you look at those top lines the same? Probably not.
No, definitely not, because the investment in Ship30 is just education. We don't do any kind of direct mentorship. Versus our biggest cost of all the businesses is our student success team of PGA. Group coaching, easy to start, extremely hard to be good at. Because again, there's so many of these moments that people just fall off. And so we are so invested in unreasonable accountability. We have all the information that if you come in and you do all of it, you're going to have success. The hard part is getting people to do stuff. And you have people who pay and come in and absolutely just ghost us in the first week. I'm like, I don't know what to do there. But then the real like fringe person is someone who will only succeed if they have 6 or 7 very high value calls that point them in the right direction, break their beliefs. And it's basically like 6 or 7 sales/coaching/therapy calls that they have throughout that 16-week period. And it takes 2 years to build something where you turn that into an efficient system. And so I think a lot of these group coaching models, you very rarely see someone do it for more than a year. And they start it, they monetize their audience, and then they're kind of out of it because they're like, oh, I can't deal with the operational complexity. Why I think we have been able to kind of soak up a lot of that is my ability to build operational systems while Cole has incredible knowledge about the world of writing. Like I do not come up with ideas at anywhere near the same clip as him. I do not think about writing nearly as much as him. I think about the operations of the business, and that is what creates such a good dynamic with us. So it took us 2 years. We're still making product improvements, and it's not like a get started and just wipe your hands and be like, all right, cool, let's move on. So for anyone thinking about starting something like that, just understand that the level of investment required is much higher. It's software in that way, and that your people are paying $7,000 because they want a lot of attention and really high quality education. And I think that people underdo that, and that's why some of these programs get a bad rap. It's like they came in and wow, the handoff from sales to success, I didn't talk to them for a week, versus we send you a welcome loom within 20 minutes of you joining. We help you join Slack on the call right away, so you're in and 50 automations fire. It's those little things that I don't think people fully understand until they go all in on that model. And that's why we had to shut down the cohort-based Ship30 during that time. Because like I need to think about nothing except how do I make someone in the first week go, I can't believe I thought about not joining this thing because it's so incredible. I like fell into this nice guided basket of, help and transition into the scary unknown that comes with joining something like this. So that's where so much of our focus is and one of our differentiators.
Unpack that more. So I come into PGA. What happens in that first week?
So first hour, right away, you'll join Slack on the call when you enroll. 50 automations fire. You get a welcome message from your coach that's been assigned to you. Once you're assigned, they send you the onboarding contract. They send you all the information. You start with a ghostwriting crash course that's like, hey, within the first 10 hours, you need to go through this whole thing because it's going to show you almost the entire roadmap. During that time, you're going to get a welcome loom from your coach walking you through who they are, their background, the next steps you should take. You're going to book a one-on-one onboarding call with them, ideally within 48 hours. So within 48 hours of you joining, you get a concierge one-on-one call right away. So it's like, hey, any questions? That's parlayed right into your first Monday is going to be a student meet and greet of all the students who joined last week. And then we also have 5 clinics throughout the week. And so the coach goes, hey, I know you're not at this stage yet, but like come to the first Thursday hot seat just so you can see the community a little bit. We also pair people in accountability trio. So right when they join, they meet two other students that started at the same time. I was like, okay, I'm not alone. And then on top of that, there's a very quick win first assignment that's like after you go through the crash course, submit your 3 takeaways. We try to have speed to assignment review that every single module, we have 9 modules in the curriculum. There's an assignment that's put in Slack. There's notifications to each CSM right when they join or right when they submit. Hey, that zaps into our full team Slack channel. Hey, new assignment, go review that assignment, quick speed to feedback. And like, that is what playing this game at a high level looks like.
I'm picturing the first episode of the first level of like Mario.
Yeah,
like immediately you jump, you hit the shiny thing, you kill the whatever the Lupa mushroom thing. This is great.
And so
designed
that's
for
all,
dopamine.
Right, exactly. All there is like, wow, within the first 4 days, I feel for the first, a lot of people have joined other programs and things like that. It's like, you just don't get that level of attention. You don't get that level of like, we're here for you. And there are so many small moments in that anytime we've ever had a problem customer or someone turns into a nightmare, it's like we missed one of those. We didn't hold the onboarding call until a weekend, so they felt lost, and you don't win them back after that. And so we think of it like an orchestra. The amount of things that happen right when someone joins is like reinforce the purchase as much as humanly possible, and that's probably 10% of what actually happens based on all the back end and things like that go into effect.
Yeah. So you sold them and then you immediately resell them. And for any kind of product like this, the way you resell somebody is information. It's here's the 10 hours of courses. It is structure. So you want to go from point A to point Z. Mm-hmm. Like and Client Ascension does this really well. You get a Kanban, basically set up your cold email. Here's your LinkedIn. Here's your website. All this stuff. Then you get accountability. You have the coach who's for you, and then you get the community, because this is true. Like I see friends in Hampton, all these other communities. Like I think the single biggest determining factor of if you stay and have a positive experience is people. You won't quit. You might quit a community. You won't quit people. You won't quit other people you've met. So it's how do we quickly get serendipity where they're meeting somebody who's relative to them as fast as possible.
Yep. And so we try to squeeze all those moments down into 24 hours.
This is a lot of ops and people. This kind of business, maybe when it was young, was this a like 50% margin business? Now it's like a 30%? Like, what does that look like?
I think most months back when it started, it was 90.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything except me, Cole, and Daniel.
Yeah.
Like that was the team for the first 15 cohorts of Ship 30. And what we thought at the time was like, oh, we've built this great organic business. We got this super high margin. The big of the zillion business lessons I've learned, one of the bigger ones has been you actually don't have a 90% margin business. You have a 50% margin business and you're paying salaries to yourself for the other 40. And until you recognize that, it's like you get very clear on all the different hats that you're still playing, that if you want to eventually build something else or have more strategic time back, you have to replace yourself from each of those. And each one of those are someone who are now a part of our team. And so you look at, 28 members, 28, 29, something like that. We have department heads for marketing, department heads for brand, department heads for student success, department heads for backend sales. Within that, you have individual contributors who all bubble up to that number. And I could talk all KPIs, but I think that would bore a lot of people. Average is around 50% but we look at it by vertical, right? So right with AI, 90%. We have just the 10% that goes to the newsletter platform that hosts it, right? We have Ship 30 that if you look at it on its own, you could technically say, and we don't do this, but you could look at our media team and like fractionalize it. How much time did they spend there? How much time? But we don't really look at it. Fixed costs, you're looking at like a 50% margin business between ads each month, like the general retargeting that we do, and labor. And then that can scale up. We have a nice operational leverage where the current team can support more revenue than we have right now. And so as we bring in more people, that will scale. But we had to bring margin down. And in doing so, our take home goes down for like a couple months because you
still got 50% still like software. Your worst case is like,
40,
what I mean?
50 I couldn't quote you the exact number, but like on any given, the hard part is because we have these different pops and things like that, like, okay, we sell a digital product, that's 100% margin during that month, but that's not something that's going to show up next month. And so we more look at it like we have fixed labor, for the most part. And then you can have operational leverage on that by driving more enrollments or doing a product launch or launching a cohort that does not have incrementally more cost of doing business. And so that's what we plan on doing, is bringing back more of these 100% margin areas that we did not have getting to this current level because we couldn't. And so that's a meta takeaway of this is, if you have a huge margin, you're going to have to pay to bring that back down with both your time and bringing new people on, so that then you can go sell your time, but now for a higher cost. And so that is how we're thinking about it, is we were monetizing our time very efficiently in the beginning. You cannot keep that up unless you just want to run that type of business. But if you want to grow eventually past that and take your take home to another level, you actually have to take a step back on that, put the team in place, and then you now have the ability to sell even higher ticket thing. Like, I could consult on high level business stuff for a handful of business owners that would pay me significantly more now because I went and built that thing. And so, there's these things all work together. It's like you take it down, but in doing so, you build a bunch of skills that then you can monetize for a higher price in the future. And that's the way we look at it.
So in terms of how you built this business, for a long time it was organic, and now it's organic and the organic part. Can you just walk through the funnel? Because there's like 3 or 4 ways you can get in, and there's all this stuff you guys do to nurture somebody set. And I think you talked about orchestras and stuff. I think it's beautiful.
Okay, so we'll pick PGA. That's the primary one we drive organic traffic to. We got my LinkedIn, Cole's LinkedIn. We'll just go platform. LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Notes, Google AdWords, but that's a paid source. So that's organic, right? You have my platform or my account, you have his account on all these. Main metric, email course subscribers. Single thing that our brand team focuses on. Every single day, they report the number of new leads per platform. That's the goal of that business. Now, because we are investing more into that one, we drive more of our organic traffic there. If we were trying to spread it thin, we would look at our content buckets and go, okay, we want to plug Write with AI this much. We want to plug Ship 30 this much. We want to plug PGA this much. We look at it as CTAs per platform and keeping the give to ask ratio like 3-1. So 3 posts, 1 CTA. That's rough, not perfect on it. How people get in is mostly to a 5-day email course. So looking at just PGA, 5-day crash course on how to become a ghostwriter. We'll walk you through everything. All of our content that talks about that. Then natural CTAs. Hey, if you want more of this, click here. Go to email course, 5-day email course. Why do we have that as the main opt-in? Because it trains people to open your emails and click. So they join 5-day. They hear from us 5 days. They go to day 1. Day 1 walks them through. Hey, if you want the next one, click down here. We'll send you day 2 right away. So people who can go through it very quickly go, wow, I just opened 5 emails and they clicked in 5 emails. What does that make them more likely to do in the future? Open my emails and click on the emails. We have many automations that when people fly through it, that's a high intent person. We should probably send them an extra email that says, hey, you're flying through this. If it's, hey, if you want more help on this, book a call, apply, all that. We hit those high intent people using our automations. Walk through the 5-day email course, CTA throughout all of that is apply to join, book a call. So they apply, they walk through an application, ask a little bit about their background, what they're looking to do, where they are in their journey, et cetera, et cetera. That will book sales calls. Now, if they don't book, we will keep sending them emails. And what I think will shock a lot of people is the sheer volume of emails that we send. We send every single day. If you click on an application and you don't fill it out, we'll send you an email within 10 minutes like, hey, you forgot to fill this out. People need to be reminded more than they need more CTAs or something. It's like, hey, I actually did mean to fill that out. Like 30-40% of our calls are people who fill out an application, don't book a call. We send them another email. Here's the calendar link. You probably just forgot this. Oh yeah, I did forget this. I had to go home. And people leave so much on the table thinking they're going to annoy people. But if you have contextual emails that only send to people who are taking an action, you're not annoying them. You're just reminding them. And we've reinforced that a ton.
I have this happen all the way in the agency, by the way. Like I'll have somebody where, we've had a great call. I email them 2 or 3 times, no response. And my default is like, man, I messed up the call. They don't want to do this. And then I email them like 3 or 4 weeks later and turns out, they were on vacation. Yeah. They got really busy. And it's, if I'd let that like mentality, like, they don't want this, get in the way, I never would have like closed the sale.
You just have to keep assuming it. You keep assuming that the person who took an action wants to keep taking that action. But think about how many things you fill out or go through on a daily basis and you just forget. And then it's convenient. Like you put it back in front of them.
Yeah. Before we keep going down the funnel, I think one thing probably most people should do if they're trying to sell something with email is what you talked about. Like the people call them e-seeds, educational email courses. 5 days, typically, it could be less, could be more. What makes a great EEC? What should go in that? And what's the power of having an EEC? What's the function of having an EEC?
So rather than, there's a couple. One, you're going to convert more of your social traffic because you have a more congruent thing rather than, hey, here's a bunch of education. If you want more of this on a weekly basis, sign up for my newsletter. I got to wait all week. And you're going to write about something that maybe is not congruent to what you just talked about. Instead, we go, ghostwriting tip, writing tip, whatever it is. Hey, if you want a full crash course on this, put your email in here. That's far more congruent. We gave you one part. Now we're going to give you the whole thing. Then you want some kind of defined outcome. So our goal with our PGA email course is by the end of these 5 days, you'll have everything you need to create an offer, go reach out to a client, position your LinkedIn bio effectively, and know how to price it correctly. Like actual outcome-based education. There are other ways we can do it. Like we think, and I'm not an e-commerce expert, so they've probably tested a zillion things on this, but you go to a cold plunge website. What's the first thing that pops up? Discount code. I don't even know if I want the thing yet. So why am I going to put my email in just for you to market to me? Versus I go to that page, I actually have 6 or 7 questions that if you answered effectively, increases my likelihood to buy. Why wouldn't you put that in the medium that then you're going to be able to sell to me in the future? People rely so much on just the frequently asked questions part or thinking that the people are going to go through the whole website. In reality, it should be, hey, the 5-day crash course on everything you need to install your cold plunge, use it, the benefits of it, etc. And you'd have a theme for each of those days because those are the things that are going to convert people to buy. In having that, you then train people to open your emails, right? So you're educating them, you're building goodwill in the place where the eventual sale will get made. And so in having that, when we transition out of that education more into direct emails, getting them to take an action, or indirect emails that give education and then ask for an action, we've built this habit loop. Then people go, okay, they've delivered a ton of value. I'm going to open this email again. I'm going to read the whole thing. Cool. There's a very clear congruent CTA to the next thing. And so that's why we have them. It's increased social content conversion and then increased conversion from the people who subscribe because they've already been trained that you know what you're talking about.
I like it. Okay. So generally, like to write like an EEC for any kind of offer, you would say like crash course on how to do something.
Yes.
Right. And like you highlight why that's important and why we'll get you to some dream outcome, right? Something that you would want.
Right.
And then it's like be horizontal. Tell somebody the entire process.
Yes.
Maybe don't give every single thing away, but like give a lot away and then assume that they will want more. They want to go even deeper. So take whole process, cover the whole thing.
Right. So if there's like 5 pillars to do anything and you look at them all like this way, you just skim the top of each one.
Yeah.
And then you deliver that educationally. Hey, if you want more of this, and that's usually all marketing is. It's like, I give you something. If you want more of this, take the next step.
Yeah.
And that's how we think about it too. So we just give not everything away for free, but we give the high level of a lot of things away and then nitty gritty tactics that just prove our expertise that make it easy for someone to take the next step.
Yeah. I like it. So, okay, I go through your EEC. I'm then getting your emails. What else is happening between that and me filling out an application?
So it will be, we send an email every day. And we do some kind of segmentation every day. So based on their background, right? Are they a 9-to-5er who wants to do this as a side hustle, or are they a freelancer who want to go all in on this? 2 very different messagings. Most people think that they have one avatar. You could and you should, if we really niche down on PGA and only went after freelancers, and that's like 50-50 split. It would be easier. And so I'll talk about how we're transitioning to paid and how you have to do that. You cannot have 2 avatars on paid or you'll get crushed. But we have enough organic that we can split it up. But we do some kind of post-email course segmentation. What's your current situation? We use different tools that allow us to then go, okay, you came from this platform and you're a freelancer. The most congruent thing will be sending you stuff that is congruent to becoming a ghostwriter on that platform that you're already on.
Did they tell you they're a freelancer? Did you ask?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So right in the post opt-in, we'll go, please break down your current situation. It's, I'm a freelancer already. I want to get started and I'm kind of in the middle, like something like that. The CTA to book a call is going to be much different to someone who wants to take their freelance writing to the next level versus someone who wants to break into it. And that congruence, like these are 20 to 30% lifts that you don't need in the beginning. And we certainly did not have, but only emerge through just the constant iteration of this whole thing.
One thing that's kind of crazy is I think people don't take for granted that personalization and how high leverage it is. So I was talking to Justin Welsh the other day, and he had this sale of something called the Creator MBA.
Oh, he crushed
it. $1.6 million in a very short amount of time. and it would have been $1 million. So they had some personalization. They A/B tested it. They created an additional $600,000 in a very short period of time for that sale. And all it was what you're talking about. It was 2 or 3 questions when somebody signed up. At what stage are you? Are you a full-time creator? Are you a side hustle creator? Like, what do you want to do? And then all they would do is they would change the headline of the email, the first 5 to 10 seconds. And then after the call to action, the headline of the sales page, $600,000, a little bit of information, 2 changes. That was it.
And that's where we plan on how you maximize organic is, and I think AI allows you to do this at a level that is unseen before. It's you can create more avatars and you can have more personalization. And that, again, all these things are only once you've done it for a long time can you know, okay, I have these 3 avatars. I have these 3 different platforms they come in on. I have these 3 different stages that they started at. I now know the personalization that will give us that lift.
Yeah.
And so that gets people onto the email list. They get nurtured. We write an email every day. We have 3 different types: value, indirect, and direct. Value is, hey, I made a new YouTube video. No CTA, go watch. There's CTAs in the YouTube video, but it just educates people. It's like, hey, Goodwill, I put this together for you. You might like it. Hey, full breakdown of this thing, no CTA, just take it. Indirect is pretty much value or long form education with a CTA. So, hey, 3 steps to charge more if you're currently on retainer and you want to take them to the next level. 3, we'll give as much templates and things away. CTA, hey, if you like this and you want to see if working with us would be a fit, book a call here. You run that 3 times a week. You run value 3 times a week. And then you have 1 direct. It's like, hey, are you still looking to do this thing that you said you wanted to do? If so, book a call here. And that has high throughput. Most people are terrified to send an email like that, but we only send it to people who have taken steps that shown they are interested in it. And so you have this baseline level, and then you have, if someone is close to taking an action, send them more things. So someone who's clicked 3 times, we're going to put them in another thing that sends them an extra email on some days that replies to the broadcast that we sent saying, hey, just want to make sure you saw this. I'm not sending that to someone who hasn't opened our last 20 emails, but if you open 10 in a row and you've clicked 3 times, I'm going to say, yo, what's going on? You're clearly like, what's got you on the fence? We'll send emails from my personal Gmail to the people who've clicked a ton. Like, yo, anything that you want to ask that's keeping you from getting started with us? Like, what's going on?
Automated? Is that all?
No, I'll do it from my personal Gmail.
That's cool.
Because it's not that many.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll have my EA like upload 20 of them and boom, 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 boom. And then I reply or I forward it to our setting team. It's like those little differences are the 20, 30% that you have to invest in once you bring your margin down to get it back up. It's like you have that ability to do that. Now you have those little things add up where they didn't when you were selling your time the entire time.
Yeah. What I want to do this simplified version of this a little bit. So this is like the $5 to $10 million a year range, built out team and stuff.
Yep.
EEC for sure. Everybody should probably have that.
Yes.
Having some kind of like, FOMO sequence and this ratio that you talked about of like, cool, 1/7 of your emails are these direct call to actions. The rest is split 50-50 between these kind of indirect. And then these like, let me send you somewhere long form of some of the really valuable place. What's the table stakes version for setting? Because I bet somebody can go through their own DMs. They can do their own email replies. What are the things they should be saying to get somebody on the call for a good coaching or a consulting offer or anything like that?
Good question. We did not do any setting for the first majority of time. Setting was something we added in once we exhausted email. Now, if I was just starting and I was some kind of consultant and I wanted direct attention and a lot of ability to do that, I would have CTAs to DM me rather than go to email. Because if you feel more confident in having a conversation, where are you at, where you want to go? Those are basically the 2 things. I think in any sale, there's sale on the method and sale on you being the person to implement that method. And so that's my high level sale. Well, really there's 3. If you want to sell anything to anyone, it's sell them on making a change, sell them on the method for making that change, and then sell them on you being the person to implement that method. So if you take a weight loss example, you have people who don't even know they should lose weight. You should probably create content or do some kind of marketing that goes, this is what life looks like when you lose weight. That's step 1. They need to be sold on making a change. Then they become problem aware. They go, okay, what are all the ways I could lose weight? Then you create content that says the keto diet is the best way. Not saying that's the best way, but that would be an example. Then they go, okay, if I am sold that I need to make a change and you've educated me that the keto diet is the best way to do it, then the last thing is you're the best coach to help me implement the keto diet. And if you can do all 3 of those things in all of your messaging, that is what creates a sale. And so you need to identify whenever someone comes in the funnel, where are they? Do they even know that they want to ghostwrite? Do they know they want to ghostwrite and they're evaluating the other options? Or sorry, do they know they want to do any kind of income or writing online? Do they now compare copywriting to email marketing to ghostwriting to creating a digital product to starting a school community, all those different ways? Cool. Okay, now you sell them on ghostwriting being better than those. Now, why are you the one that's going to help me? And you reduce the risk, you build, you show, don't tell, you give them, student success stories, all those kinds of things. So that's my high level advice to anyone who's looking to have any kind of service-based or higher ticket thing. Identify where the people are in your sales process and then have conversations around that accordingly. Last part on that, the easiest people to sell anything on, and this is the power of organic, is that most of the people who come through for us want to be writing on the internet and they believe ghostwriting is a good thing. They're just in it now to make sure that what we offer fits with their logistical schedule. But then you have people who come from cold. They don't even know if they want to write. And if you try to go in and talk about the how good and smart Cole and Dickie are, they're going to be like, I don't care. I don't even know if I want to do this thing. And that level of contextual sales process is what leads to high converting sales. Because otherwise you're just having the same conversation with everyone. It will work on the people that are in the same part of the sales process that you're communicating in, but it will not work for all those other people. And that's a challenge when you have all these different organic platforms, all these different paid platforms. People come in at different stages. And that's a skill of the sales and marketing team of how do I communicate with all these people effectively.
Yeah. What have you trained your sales team on, and what are maybe 2 or 3 explicit things? We're like, yeah, we were okay at this, and then we unpack the close rate. We're like, oh man, there's this group we're not talking to at all. We need to do this to change how we orient for that group.
Selling to someone who's never met us before.
Yeah.
So anytime someone comes on, if they don't know who Cole and Dickie are, that has to be addressed. And so the way we phrase that is like, I noticed, and this is pre-call context, I noticed you came in via Instagram ad. Let me tell you a quick bit about our founders, because most people come in via LinkedIn where they have 300,000 followers or X where they have 700,000 followers. That little bit of credibility. It's like, okay, most people do this, but you came from somewhere else. So let me tell you 30 seconds on their background. If you don't do that, you will get to the end of the sales call. Everything will sound good. They'll be like, I just want to do a little bit more research on these guys. I need to do a little bit to kind of feel that they're the right guys for me.
Yeah.
But how do you actually handle that pre-call? So most sales you can handle pre-call. So we send 24 emails over 3 days, to anyone who books a call with us. We thought that was a lot. Open rate, 60, 70% on those things. And it makes sense because they are in the research process. They're in the due diligence era of, am I going to work with these guys? So how do we go? What are all the questions that they might have? And I'm going to just write emails, send every 4 hours between when they book and the time of their call.
It's so wild.
That says, what is ghostwriting? First email. Who are Dickie and Cole? Second email. What will this work in my niche? How much time do I need to do this? Do I have to be a really good writer? All of those with stories and with data and with proof. People come on the call and they're like, yeah, I mean, I just read all the emails and I know exactly what you guys do, how it works. And so what do we do when we were getting new people in that didn't know us that well? We're like, okay, what are our highest performing podcasts ever? How do we just create a quick library? It's like, hey, between now and the time of your call, this podcast has 600,000 views on YouTube. Most people have found it helpful to get to know us, and it's Us with Ali Abdaal, where we both have 500,000 views on our podcast. Great social proof. Send that. People come in, watch that. We also know that was validated from all the organic calls that we had. People go, I watched that, and I was like, every single thing he said made sense to me, and I thought he's so smart, I want to work with you guys. And so we've just reverse engineered this 12-month organic sales process. All the different touch points someone has, we pick the best ones, we condense it into an email sequence, and we send 24 of them.
I love it, dude. I feel like if you ever hosted a Thanksgiving dinner, there's kind of like, most people like bake the turkey, and thaw it. And you're like, dude, let's just throw that shit in the microwave.
Yeah.
Let's just nuke it.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to, yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. But, or you deep fry a turkey. That just blasts that thing. But,
that's crazy, dude.
And again, we did not do that on day one. And so many of the things I want to preface here, and we talked about this on the walkover, but do not look at what I'm doing now and say, I need to go do all those things, because this has been 2.5 years so far of running this exact thing with very few tweaks, and only tweaks that go, okay, we're getting this a lot. Why do we add this to this process? Or this is creating confusion. Why do we remove this from this process? You cannot do that without thousands and thousands and thousands of reps. And that's what people try to, like, I used to listen to a podcast like this and be like, there's 50 ideas I got to go execute. And I'm in the beginning, I'm a totally different stage. Don't do that. Yeah. Just stick to the basics, and only we talk about solving problems just
Dude,
in
I'm
time.
thinking that right now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh man, I gotta do
this.
this. Yeah.
So we talk about solving problems just in time versus just in case. So just in case would be, I listen to this podcast. There's 50 things that I could do that all go and make sense. I got my notes. I'm like in my Notion dashboard. I'm writing this all down. Like I got to go implement this all. If you cannot point to this one removing a bottleneck in your business, it is a waste of time to go implement. Add it to your arsenal, but only when your show rate starts to go down because you're talking to people who don't know you as well and they don't value the call as much. Should you implement 24 emails that introduce yourself? If you don't have that problem, don't invest time into it because otherwise you're just productively procrastinating. We're like, all these things could work. And I still fall victim to this. We got 50 things we're doing right now that if I audited my list, like, that's just because I know how to do it. I'm going to do it. That one looks fun, so I'm going to do it. Versus like the really hard thing is we need 2 to 3 really good ads that we could scale to 5 million people.
Yeah.
All other effort is probably wasted right now. That's not that. But again, I'm not perfect with it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm just thinking about like, can I just do one of them? Like, what's my highest performing asset? And like, we've got this. I'll do these like webinar videos with Beehive, and we'll walk through like our paid ads playbook, or like product launch playbook, all this different stuff. So I've had multiple people mention the paid ads YouTube video on my call. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. I should just send one email that's just that. Maybe there's like 5 things I'm forgetting to send, but who cares? Let me just start with that.
Yeah. So I'm in Jeremy Haynes' mastermind. Great guy, lives in Miami. Learned a ton from him. And this is just my MO of like, if there's a season where I need to go very deep on something, it started with organic. And I bought every course about how to write on the internet and then learned to do it myself and read Cole's book and all that. Then went to email marketing. I bought Brendan Dunn's Master and Convert Kit, got that, learned the whole thing. Was like, that was 4 years ago at this point. Second course I ever bought. First was Jack Butcher's Build Once, Sell Twice. Second was that one. First 2000, 100x return on all of those. Then need to learn sales, joined Cole Gordon's mastermind because I didn't know how to structure and fulfill on that. From there, now it's paid. So I go, who's the best person at teaching this? Who's doing it at a high level? How can I go immerse myself in their worldview? Zooming back out, he talks about there's 4 main types of emails you could send to someone before they get on a call. They have questions about your offer, second order questions that emerge once you've answered those first ones, objections, so things that are going to come up no matter what, and then expectations. How long to see results? What does it look like to work with you? How much does it cost? All of that. If you just linearly write those down based on your sales calls and you put those before the call, or you put it in a pre-call video, you are going to stop having to repeat yourself so much. So I'll ask you, what part of, if you model out, you have traffic to conversion, you have email course or email subscriber conversion, then number of people who subscribe that book a call, number of people that book a call that show, number of people that show that close. That's your whole, any kind of call-based funnel. I could just pull all 5 of those in a spreadsheet and have one conversation with you of like, oh yeah, that's the only one you should work on. And only because I can look at your business without emotion. Like, oh, but I want to do this one. It's like, dude, your show rate's 50%. Get it to 75, you're going to grow by 50%. The business will grow if you just get 25% more of those people to show. Okay, how do I do that? Well, why aren't they showing? Reverse engineer. It's only when you think in bottlenecks like that and then zoom in on it, go, okay, well, they're not showing because they forgot, so we should implement reminders. They're not showing because they're confused. We need the emails. They're not showing because they don't trust us. We need more trust assets. Like, okay, how do I build a trust asset? And again, it goes back to the conversation we had before this. You're a fixed number of questions away from the next level of your business. And it's only when you just get extremely specific on what those questions are and go, okay, well, I don't know how to do that. That's a skill I need to go learn. How do I do that? Well, I have AI. AI can take that how question, break it down into 50 micro questions. And then, so I say all this because I am trying to think this way more. And so most of the things I say are like reminders to myself of like, I know to do this and I'm just trying to get myself to do it. But I do think AI has allowed us to get rapid answers to questions faster than we have in the past. That doesn't necessarily mean people are going to act on it. They're still going to be doing 50 different things, but it's only when you get so specific on it that you go, okay, I'm only going to focus on that one. Everything else is going to stay the same. And if I just do that, then I will grow by this percent. And hopefully all the other metrics stay the same. And then that's it.
Yeah. I love this idea of like paying people or just having somebody who impartially looks at your business, because it's very tough. I mean, I'll have like what I do all my sales calls in the afternoon. And one of those reasons is I am quite emotional. And if I have a sales call that goes just the way I don't want it to go this way, or I feel like they're not really enjoying it, I get sad. I get in my feel. So I know I got to at least let me put that toward the end of the day. So I have my morning.
Right.
I think the power of having somebody impartial is very important. You guys paid Alex Hormozi $50,000 to have them do this for your business. One, it was actually cool. I don't think they were even there at that because they're so good at the team, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. What was the roadblock in your business that they called out?
We went to them and basically we were trying to come up with a decision of how much should we expand into paid? Because organic, here are our numbers, here's where we're at, here's where we're generating traffic wise. And their takeaway was like, you guys have enough impressions to be doing about 40% more if you can convert more of those impressions. So we had a CRO problem. That was the main bottleneck. We needed to go simplify our application. We needed to improve our page speed load. We needed more congruent CTAs. We needed to maximize our emails. We needed to contextualize our emails. And how I knew that was like, I brought all our data, which I'm obsessive about data tracking. And then you just map each one. And the one that I was missing was impression to sale ratio. It's like if that number, I can't remember exactly what it was, but if we don't have that dialed in, we're not efficient enough. And you don't want to just dump more impressions on it. So we went and got a page speed load audit. Loads instantly now. We cut 3 questions from our application that we weren't using. 20% lift. We contextualized our CTAs on every email. 10% lift. Those like little silver bullets or silver BBs over a golden bullet. That's like how they describe it. We implemented like 10, 15 of those and we jumped back into the like 650 range. And now to do the amount of effort required to take our CRO to another level from there versus just expanding into paid and having more people see those impressions, we feel good about the throughput numbers. It's now just an impressions game. And that is more content, more ads, more ways for people to consume. And so more ways for, hey, you're actually a video learner. We need more education, just talking head camera on Instagram and on YouTube. And that's how we think about it. So that was the roadblock. We've removed that now. And now it's turn the high margin things all the way back on and then see where we end up.
Yeah. What were some of the specific things that they looked at that would be you would want to audit yourself or pay somebody to audit that would be surprising? So as an example, you were saying page load speed. So you had this problem where like your page load speed for you was super fast because you're visiting your site all the time. Exactly. It's cache a site. So like, this tiny thing, it only by having somebody else come into this, we never would have seen this. The application length thing, I assume you're looking at drop off in the application. Right. Where is that highest? Okay, do we really need that question ahead of the sales call? Let's really talk about it. Take that out. Was there anything else like that?
I don't remember anything else specifically, but I just remember their thought process of it, where I gave them the high level. And then it's only when you know the high level that you can then model out the system of point A to point B being actually its own system of 10 things. And then we plot the metrics across that one. We dig into that one. And then you look at, okay, like let me try to conceptualize an example here. Let's say that we're getting a lot of email subscribers, but not enough call bookings. So that's like a very clear metric. You have call booking to lead ratio, right? Let's say out of every 100 leads, we're only booking 10 calls, and that should be 20. So we could double the business. So we just got that from 10 to 20. Okay. So we now need to go, all the people who are coming in via email, how do we get them to book a call? Well, what does that actually look like? Well, they have the first email. They have to open that email. So that's the subject line. They have to click on the email. That's the CTA. How do we measure those? Well, we actually found that, and I'm not saying this is exactly what happened, but what I would say is we actually just saw our open rate was 40%. It should be 55, it should be 60. That's a 50% lift in the whole thing, only when you get very specific on that number. So you can raise your lead to call booking if you get your open rate from 40 to 50 or for 40 to 60%. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we need 50 times more testing of our headlines, of our subject lines. Okay, that's the only thing we should do for the next month until we do that. And until, obviously, you would pick the one that is the highest return on lowest effort. So if instead we saw, our CTA, extreme example was we didn't CTA on 6 out of our 7 emails. Why don't we just double the amount of times we tell people to book a call and see what happens? Boom. Okay, fix that metric. Now I zoom back out. So that was the big meta takeaway for us is you have to be very precise around which high level metric is it. Then you throw them all out and you look just at that one and you remodel the system. And we go, okay, that's the bottleneck of that remodeled system. Zoom in on that one. What's the system there? And that level of deep strategic thought is where I'm spending the most of my time now, because every other decision is wasted, or all the other effort is wasted if I make the wrong decision there. And so it takes so much information to go, that's the bottleneck. that's the bottleneck within the bottleneck. That's the bottleneck within that one. How do I solve that?
Yeah. So there's like a 3-step process basically, right? It's like, one, map out the process, which already I imagine a lot of people don't even do.
Most people don't have any of the data, and myself included, until 2024. I did not know I have a full spreadsheet, making a YouTube video on this now, running the entire business, every single one, color-coded, relative to itself over the last 18 months.
Love that.
And now that allows me to make clear decisions. I did not have that before, so I was just winging it. But you can wing it when it's very clear, like this number, I'm going to make this change, and I will see the throughput increase. And I know it worked. Like if you don't see that jump, you didn't work on the right thing. But now when we're in the like 10 to 15% changes, you have to model it out. And because you might not see the change happen immediately, it might take 2 months. But you see the leading indicator of it shift up. Like click-through rate of an ad goes from on average 2 to 3. You'll see more throughput to start, but that will compound. That's 50% more people hitting your page based on the same ad spend. And that, another just big lesson is thinking in percentage terms, not in differences. If I said getting your open rate from 50 to 75%, or your click-through rate from 2 to 3%, 2 to 3% is the same as 50 to 75, but most people go, oh, it's like 1%. It's not going to do anything. And so that has been a big lesson for us. Is like, what is the percentage difference between where it should be and where it's at? And that biggest delta is where you should spend the most of your time.
Yeah, I like that a lot. There's, I think one final step we've tried to think about a lot for our clients is spending a lot of time with the team digging into the qualitative piece of like the numerical stuff. So for Isaac French's funnel, for example, like we were having this issue with close rate. And so we were mapping out the funnel, show rate on the webinar is looking great. Retention rate's looking great. Call booking rate is like pretty decent. Show rate on the calls is all great. Okay, but people aren't closing. Well, what's the issue? Is it a marketing issue? Like, are we sending bad leads? Do we need to add qualification?
Yes.
Is it a salesperson issue? And so there's this, well, it could be either, right? So we have to actually go look at the sales calls.
You have to get your hands
watch
dirty.
2, 3, 4, 5 all the way through, summarize a bunch more in Claude or ChatGPT. And what we figured out is like, there were small things that the sales team wasn't doing. They weren't bam-famming, book a meeting from a meeting, never let the prospect go without saying like, oh, let's just, in case you have questions, let's book 20 minutes next week. And, if we don't need it, we can take it off. We'll just kill it, right? So you move the, antagonism, right? You make it seem kind of safe. Small things like that to ensure that we're getting the close. But that's cool because you don't know if it's a marketing, if it's a sales, what is it within sales until you do the work.
Yes.
Or
take them yourself.
Yes.
And you take enough of them yourself, you go, oh, okay, this person keeps coming in with this question. I'm miscommunicating that in our pre-email sequence. I need to go fix that. And I mean, I took the first 50 PGA calls. Cole and I both took them. It's like, oh, I know exactly what to say, and I now know how to train someone on that. But when we spin up a cold funnel, I should get my hands dirty again and go, they're going to come in completely different frame, completely different sales process now. They haven't been consuming our stuff for a year, right? The first 100, 200 people to join PGA was like, of course I'm going to join. I love you guys. I want to learn from you. The 1500th person that didn't hear about us until yesterday, very different process, very different education that goes into that. So I agree though, when you spot that bottleneck, you have to just immerse yourself in it. You have to figure out what are the questions that if I had the answer to, I would be able to solve this.
Yeah.
And it's usually a fixed number of questions, which is very empowering, but also I find extremely frustrating. Like I know how close I am, but I'm just distracted by all this other bullshit all the time. And I'm not spending the highest leverage time. It's impossible to block it all out though, but that is what gets you to the next level. It's that 2 days off the grid where you just look at the numbers, you don't have any notifications on, you go, I'm just going to think about this.
Yeah. Hey, just between you and me, I have a little favor to ask you. We do this whole podcast for free, and I think that some of the episodes are going to make you a lot of money, right? I talk with founders, usually founders who have an audience, about their financials, their funnels, and their feelings. So I hope that will motivate you to start a business, or if you already have a business, it's going to teach you a lot about how to scale and how to build an audience, how to create your own luck. So the only ask that I have is if you're on Spotify right now, I'd like you to hit the follow button. And if you're on YouTube, I'd like you to hit subscribe. That'll help you and I go to more of these cool people and ask them to hang out with us so we can learn more about their business. So with that, I'll let you get back to the podcast.
We run ads for a lot of the big AI newsletters, and like we'll see interesting things. I mean, dramatically different. A lot of these newsletters are like, we'll sell people into the community, or we'll sell ads, and we'll see dramatically different LTVs for readers based on the angle, but then there's dramatically different angles at work. And sometimes angles will change. So for instance, 2 years ago, we would run angles that were like, if you're worried about AI replacing you, because people believe that, like maybe my job could be replaced by AI. The market now is more sophisticated.
Yeah.
People will believe, hey, I think somebody who uses AI will make more money than me, will get out promoted than me, will get more favor from my boss than me. And so now that angle works. And that's the difference in now market sophistication. And market sophistication now requires the angle changes. Then there's totally different angles on like the psychology of the reader in this case, as an example. So that's more like white collar worker people. If we switch over to like entrepreneurs, the types of hooks that are working really well are like, and this is true, like there are like founders who are building $10 million ARR businesses because they know how to leverage AI correctly and like actually get leverage on it with their team. Totally different ways of talking to different types of people. And it's a lot of work to figure that out. What do you think your guys' version of that would be?
We started to test this a lot. And my first take is that it will be two main psychological angles that then you can plug in our offer to. The first will be loss aversion, meaning you are doing this thing wrong right now. You are doing something and it is wrong. So
you love loss aversion. I've read so many years.
Right.
Like, I'm doing so much wrong.
Loss aversion is the best one because if you go to someone who's already doing the thing, they're in market. They're like, I'm actively there. But if you tell me I do it wrong, like the most viral thing I've ever written was in 2021, I wrote a thread on advanced Twitter tips. Very like the OG thread of if you use it right, platform is the best thing in the world. Most people use it wrong. Here are 10 tips. Like 500 threads have been written like that since then. That had 100,000 likes or something like that. Crazy. Why did it work? People were doing a thing. I told them they're doing that thing wrong. Here's how to fix it immediately. And so a great angle for us is if you're a freelance writer and your ChatGPT prompts aren't pages and pages long, you're doing it wrong. Immediately they go, shoot, I thought this is an in-market person who was already using AI, but they're doing it wrong. And so we then speak directly to them. So that's one. And we're going to say that in 100 different ways. If you're using ChatGPT instead of Claude, you're leaving money on the table. If AI is not doing 80% of your outreach, you're leaving money on the table. If AI is not doing 80% of your fulfillment, if you're still writing rather than having AI do all the writing yourself, you're doing it wrong. So all those things that they're not doing or that they're doing incorrectly. The second is you take that and you say other people. So if you're ever wondering why other freelancers are seeing so-and-so success, it's because they're doing X, Y, and Z. So same thing of other people are now doing something that I'm not doing. That's very subtle difference, but loss aversion is I'm already doing the thing, but I'm doing it wrong. Then the comparison is other people are doing this thing that I'm not doing. And if you just hit on those two angles, I think we have enough psychological foundations to then slot in 500 different ways of saying that. And how I know that one was validated, the most viral hook that we had from our last ad set was ever since I started calling myself an AI ghostwriter, clients won't stop throwing money at me. And why that works is someone else is doing something that I'm not doing and it's working. And I want to do that thing now. And so that one, and then the one I just said of if your ChatGPT prompts aren't pages and pages long, you're doing it wrong. Just hitting on those two things. And then I think we'll have a third, which is just telling people that you need to write with AI.
Yeah.
And so write with AI. If you're a freelance writer and AI is not doing 90% of your fulfillment, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I think those three are broad enough that anyone can apply them. The psychological principle that we're talking about here. But yeah, that's what we'll go
This is like all of Mason's angles right now are the AI. And I think it speaks to like the introducing a new mechanism is very important. And so like you talked about the Twitter threads blowing up and how, now there's hundreds of people talking about that. There was, do you know Alex Finn at all?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Alex is a buddy. His version of that all blowing up was like he would go and study the code, the source code, all this. No, new mechanism. Cool. Right. Guy did all this work. And well, that must be social proof. It is the code. Okay, therefore this is now a differentiated thread.
Yeah.
I find it's very like studying the funnel thing. It's like a underappreciated thing. Like think about the mechanism, right? And think if you can you repackage the mechanism? Can there be a new mechanism? Mm-hmm. I think it's quite good in copywriting. Yeah.
So many good things there.
Yeah. Is this like your obsession right now? It's going to be ads?
Yeah, definitely. Because I know that it's a skill. How I think about learning any kind of skill is if learning this thing, I will then be able to reapply to other games in the future. So writing was the very first one for me. I knew if I learned to write, I could apply this in a zillion different areas. So I started an internal newsletter at BlackRock that just talked about the markets, got better at that, then started my own newsletter that talked about the podcast that I was listening to, got really good at that. Then go, okay, well, I just built this skill. Why don't I put it in a better vehicle that was Ship 30? Ship 30, I learned a ton about organic content, organic traffic. Great. Now I should just take that organic traffic that I'm generating, put it into PGA. I want PGA to work. I need to go learn sales. I need to learn fulfillment. I need to learn operations and tech and team, all of those things. Cool. Now I can have a conversation with anyone else starting it about all those things. So I think a lot of people in the beginning are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this forever. Like, you might not do that version of it, but those skills that you learn, you will be able to reapply forever. And so anytime I pick an obsession on the business side, I don't look at, is this 100% the thing I want to spend all my time doing in this business forever? No. But if I learn how to run paid ads and can convert people who've never heard of me before to buy something from me, I don't think there's a higher leverage skill on earth than that. And so if I can go figure that one out, I know that it allows all of our portfolios to grow. And I talked about the flywheel version of all that, but that's where I'm spending the most of my time. And I, was slacking my team the other day of, it's a dangerous time when I get my hands on a new course portal that talks about the thing that is keeping us from getting to the next level. And like, it's kind of a running joke inside that if I go, I got 20 hours of course material in front of me, everyone kind of like grabs onto their chair a little bit because they know I'm coming in firing.
Everything's changing.
Yeah. They know I'm coming in firing with like, hey, here's exactly how we're going to roll this out. And I see the matrix a little bit that I did not see before.
How I really like people who have what I call like the capacity to be obsessed, because I think it is like a skill. It's this thing you can nurture, and that's definitely you. Like I remember hearing, a couple things. So when you were first doing that newsletter back at BlackRock or Blackstone,
BlackRock,
I always get my rocks and my stones confused.
Same, me too.
Yeah,
but BlackRock, yeah.
Yeah, I think you wrote that thing for like it was like 40 weeks or something.
Yeah,
before it really hit. What were you telling yourself during that period to keep going? Because I remember I had this, we were talking about the business that I was helping run before this agency. When I was talking about it, I made it sound quite short, but actually there was like, 3 or 4 months of like nothing happening before the agency took off. And when I look back, that's not a very long period of time. Fuck, dude, when I was in it every day, and it was during the winter too, it was dark, nothing's working. I was depressed. I was extremely sad. It was one of the hardest periods of my life. And the ability to tell yourself to keep going, I think is so important. What was your version of that back then?
How to keep going in the difficult period of starting something new when it feels like nothing's working is simply finding ways to measure what is working. And so you look back on me starting a newsletter, writing it for 40 weeks. I only grew from 0 to 200 subscribers. But how did I trick myself during that time? Well, if I went from 30 to 40, I said that was 25% growth. And then I got in a spreadsheet and said, if I just grew 25% every week for a year, where would I be? And it's like 2 million subscribers. I'm like, okay, so if I just keep doing this, I might get there. And most frustration that people run into that get them to quit is just a mismatch of expectations and reality. So you only get frustrated because you expect to be growing faster than you currently are. But if you just remove that expectation and you only measure relative to 0, you'll feel much better about it. As long as your subscribers aren't going down, you're winning. And you extend the time horizon on which you're measuring your success, that feeling of inadequacy melts away. And so everything that I've ever done that I was obsessed over, I first stopped measuring myself to any kind of big ideal, because that just leads to resentment and frustration the entire time. You can be completely content and satisfied with what you currently have and how you're currently performing and still want more. I used to think that wasn't true. I used to think if I wanted more, I have to be upset with what I currently have. That's the only way I'm going to get there. Not saying I operated perfectly with that, but that has been my new way of operating. I love what I currently have and I still want more. And so I'm going to get there. On the nitty gritty side, it's just finding ways to see a chart that keeps going up. So in anything that you're doing, if you can have some kind of measurement that just goes up, you will have the dopamine to keep going. And then lastly on that, it's knowing that how do I keep writing for 40 weeks if it's not growing super quickly? I measured the skill that I was building that I know can't be taken away from me. And so I was going to do that work anyway. I was going to listen to those podcasts and summarize them in my Notion notebook like clockwork every single day. I was already doing that. That's why I started the newsletter. So I was like, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to get better at doing it in the process. And if I just keep going, I have a hunch, a hypothesis that this will work out for me. And luckily it did.
Yeah. Enjoy the game, enjoy the process, basically. You, when you first launched Ship 30, I heard you took the calls during your lunch break because it was the only time you knew your boss wouldn't call you.
Two things. One, during lunch break. And then second, Friday at noon. And I'll tell you a funny story about Friday noon calls. So at BlackRock, we were not allowed to have meetings past noon on Fridays. So Ship 30, when it first started where I had to commit to a time where I couldn't be flexible of like, I might be able to do it this time. Friday at noon, every single week during 2021 when I was scaling Ship 30, we did, $1 million, $1.1 million in 2021 on top of working at BlackRock the whole time. That was like the most intense year of my life. We left that schedule until 2024. We're like, why are we having all of our calls and meetings at noon on Friday? And we just never changed it because that was how we started. That's where we did it. And like Cole and I are traveling, we're doing all this stuff. Like we're just stressing ourselves out trying to move this Friday call all the time. Like, why is it here? It's like, oh, I used to have a full-time job where I knew I could do this call and that was the only time I could do it. And so we moved the ball to Thursday and now we have heads down Friday. No meetings at all on Fridays. Just deep work, get to decompress at the end of the week, like rest up into the weekend. So you hit the weekend a little bit refreshed too. So yeah, lots of little nuggets that only in closely looking at how they got there that way, you start to go, okay, that's probably not serving us anymore.
What does the BlackRock analyst group chat think of all this?
I'm not in it, man. Yeah. I'm not in it. And I think I get occasional messages from people who are like, I really like your story and I think it's cool what you're doing. And like, thanks so much. But I think I was part of a team that was I was the youngest one by like 10 years. And so everyone I looked up to was older, more successful, had a bunch of money. I just didn't want to wait that long. And I'm sitting here now like 29. I still would be, my salary at BlackRock right now, if I was still there, would be like 300. And that would be solid, but living in New York, that 50%, that's poof, gone. And I'm at a desk the whole time. And I forecasted that. And maybe I could have pulled off a lot more and like really stuck in that and had some like $100 million payday. But I wanted to break myself out of a low financial state from my family, from everything that came before me. And I needed to take that into my own hands. So I don't know what the group chat's saying, but if they're watching this, shoot me a DM. I can provide as much information as I can. But the nice part about my content, I just talk about what I'm doing and I leave it all out there. And so people watch my stuff and they go, oh, like I don't have that many questions for you. You just told me exactly what you did. You told me that you woke up at 4:30 a.m. to work from 4:30 to 7:30 for a year and a half because that was the only way you were going to have enough time to do any kind of writing before having to be at your desk at 7:30. And very fortunate that I did that. But you can only give that advice to so many people directly. Otherwise, they just kind of have to figure it out on their own.
How what do you do for like community? And like you have a co-founder,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure helps a lot.
Yeah.
What I found helpful is I don't talk to a lot of like people from, you and I went to similar colleges. I don't talk to a lot of people from college, and not in a bad way. It just there's a phase of my life where I want to do certain things,
Right.
and I think it would actually pull me back to like the Wall Street, the consulting stuff, if I did spend my time there.
Yeah.
And so I that part I do on purpose, but it's not in a bad way. And I found like I've got this group of older guys who are, some are friends, some are mentors. That's really helpful for like where I want to go. And then I've got this group that I co-work with like, 19 to 23-year-olds, and they're all doing 7 figures and they're crazy kids, running around New York, like doing all this stuff. And that gives me so much energy. That's my espresso shot. And I've enjoyed that barbell of community. What's your version of that?
I definitely underinvested in that over the last 4-ish years. And I'm relatively introverted. I do not get very much energy. I'll leave this energized, but then later in the day, I'll be like, whew, cooked. Like a lot of mental output, a lot of energetic output for me. And then I'll have to like retreat and recover on my own.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
No. But I do that for a good reason. And so I spent a lot of 2021, 2022, 2023 alone. And I have like a handful of friends that I stopped talking to during that time because I had to just put all my effort into this thing. 2021, I lived at home with my mom. I was taking care of her during her chemo and everything that went into that. And so that was post-COVID. And I'm like sitting there, there's not a lot for me to do. I didn't drink from the end of 2021 until 2023, 18 months, no alcohol. And then I didn't date much. I didn't think about all these other things that I could do during that period because I just said, I'm going to get to a level that will take an unreasonable amount of effort. And I didn't find that I needed other people like hyping me up during that time. I knew exactly what to do for most of that. Now I seek out conversations with people I get the most energy from a conversation like this because nothing I've said today did I have to think about what to say. It just flowed. Like it's in there, you prompted it correctly, boom, comes out. I find it very frustrating to have like really boring conversations about a kitchen remodel or someone working a 9-to-5 job, like bitching about their boss. I don't have the energetic capacity to sit there and be like, ugh. So I talk to remarkably few people, but like I've become really good buddies with George Mack. I don't know if you know George McGill on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Great incredible writer, incredible thinker. Like we just sent cold DMs to each other basically in like 2021. He's become one of my best friends. I text him like every day now. I feel energized anytime I see his name pop up because I know I'm going to talk about something cool with him. There's not that many people on earth that I could have related to on my acceleration of growth. And it's hard to have people that aren't moving as quickly, and finding the people that are in your exact vicinity, it's difficult. And so I had a co-founder that I could have these conversations with, which was nice. So I'm not the best person to ask about what I did for community because like he was a couple years older, further ahead in life in terms of he was getting engaged at the beginning of Ship 30 and all that. But our net worths were accelerating at the same pace. So I'm like, okay, how are you thinking about taxes right now? And I would just talk to him. Like, how are you thinking about, dude, we just made a fucking ton last month. Like, what are you going to buy? You gonna do anything with this? Like, what are you putting this in? And those are the types of conversations I do think you need to seek out, but it becomes increasingly hard to do so. And we've talked about, like, there are remarkably few people that I could have a full conversation, unfiltered, everything, life, relationships, money, business, health. That's just a small group in my life right now, and seeking them out.
Do you want more of that, or do you feel like your cup is full?
I think I like more of it, but selectively. So for example, my buddy George had his birthday in Austin 2 months ago, turned 31. He's got a bunch of friends that are very similar. He doesn't hang out with them all the time, but he gets them all together. And it's like, we're just going to immerse for 3 days. And I was like, oh my God, I had more conversations about relationship growth. And, you know, I'm 29. How does that change your health and fitness from someone who's 31 who trains way different than they were 24? That is refreshing to me, but I don't need that every day. If I had that every day, I walk out of those with so many ideas and so much to go do. I need like a full retreat where I don't talk to anyone else. I'm like, I got my list. I got things to go do. I'm going to talk to my team. I'm going to talk to my girlfriend. I'm going to talk to my dog, and that's it. So it's a balance for sure.
I like that. I like, I'm a big Slack person. So I'll Slack interesting things or like dealing with people. And then I like really deep kind of multi-day thing with people like Rowan, the AI guy.
Yeah.
Him and Walter and I, we went out to SF together and we spent a week together last year, co-working dinners together. And,
Cool.
and not that we didn't design the dinners, but naturally they all kind of like, one was about him and doing content. He's a big reason why I started doing content on LinkedIn, all these different things. And that was I left that with so many ideas. And I wouldn't want that every week.
No.
But I think the fact that and we're going to do it again this year, that we do it once a year, it really matters.
Yes.
It's really meaningful when you do it that way.
Having some kind of quarterly intensive, whether that's you get off the grid, you tell other people to come, or like I'm going to go rent a house in Arizona in 2 weeks. We're going to work there, my co-founder and Daniel, all three of us every day for a week. And we're going to film a ton. We're going to like sauna together. We're going to work out. We're going to have steaks, all that good stuff. And that's it. And then we come back and like we execute on the list that we talked about. And then we'll get back together. And I think that's the barbell of any kind of remote or any kind of, my best friends, I do not need to see every day. And my girlfriend's much different. She's like, I have to have community. I got to talk to them every day. I need like shallow conversation with tons of people. Like, what are they doing? Like, we're different. She's more social than me. And I love I go immerse with a person for a couple days and then I don't see them for 8 months. We text every once in a while, pick up immediately right when we see each other again.
Yeah.
And that I think is like, maybe that's just a male-female dynamic, but that's where I think about it.
The house thing is a pretty good idea. I was having lunch with a couple of the PJ kids. Neil's the European kid, and the guy with the glasses and all your ads.
Yeah,
yeah.
All our ads, yeah.
And I think they're getting like a house in Europe or something for like a week. Just
cool.
together. But same thing. It's like, how do we condense period?
Yes.
Cold plunge sauna with everybody, and then we'll go off. We got our ideas. We're going to do our own thing.
And I think because I traveled so much in the last year, I didn't have the space to go plan more travel. But now that I have this home base here in Miami, I'm like, okay, I want to do that. I'm going to book a wander. I'm going to go have 50 people that I could be interested in having come. I'm going to text 10 of them. I'm going to say, hey, it's all taken care of. Just get yourself out there. Cost me $5-6 grand. I got a sick house. I'm going to have fun no matter what. couple people will show up. We'll do all the good stuff together with them, and then do that every once in a while.
So there's this founder I really admire, this guy, Robert Refkin, and he founded Compass. It was really
Real
cool.
estate?
Real estate.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah, okay.
fancy real estate
Yeah.
stuff. And one thing I always dug about his story is his mom works for his real estate agency, and they have this wonderful relationship, and she's giving him feedback on the product. It's just cool. Like, you create this thing, and then somebody you deeply care about gets to be a part of it. I heard your mom's been in like every cohort of Ship 30.
From the first one, 2021 and 22nd will be here in July. But yeah, I mean, I started it when I lived at her house, just us two. And I'm like, Mom, I got this like thing.
You know, you grew up a lot with her. You spent, she's your,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so Ship 30 started, and like my mom's story, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was a senior in high school or a senior in college. I had to go to New York during her first like treatments. I was just flying back and forth, and I was there a couple times, but like I wasn't fully involved in that recovery process because I had to go. She knew it was best for our family, for my future, for like me to go take this big corporate awesome job and make a good chunk of money at the time. Then when we got sent home, work from home was June of 2020. And I was just like, this is awesome. I'm here. Ship 30 was before, like, or after that. But I was like, okay, how do I maximize this time with her? Then in September of 2020, she was re-diagnosed. And so I'm there all of 2021, helping nurse her through that, building Ship 30, still working at BlackRock. So that was definitely a very intense year, but like she was there in the very first one that was just a Slack group where everyone got their money back. She's like, people paid you for this? I'm like, I'm giving them their money back. Don't worry. Like, I don't know where it's coming from. And the next one was $99. And I still remember that first $99 Stripe hitting, and I like went home and showed her, you know? And so she's been a part of every journey. She is writing a ton about her story, and she's going to write some memoirs, and like, she's really integrated in that whole thing. But yeah, she's definitely watching this. So
what changed for you during that period about what you valued, if anything? Is a couple of people that we've interviewed have gone through loss. My mom passed away when I was about when your mom was diagnosed, and hers was lung cancer. And for me, it made me want more out of life. It made me value the friendships I had. My friendships are extremely important. I'm not very close to my family, so my friends are my family. That's why community is such an important part for me. It also made me want to really, it was a big part of why I quit BCG. So I was like, I want to go for it. I've gotten this far. You know, this is reaffirmed that like I want there to be like a mission, and that changed a lot of how I thought about life. It changed a lot of my actions.
I have more on that only because in 2023 I lost my dad very unexpectedly, and so that was a little over 2 years ago. It was June 1st, 2023, and I am working on processing a lot of that right now because I think that happened during the month that PGA started to accelerate. And so we had a beta cohort in March. May of 2023, I tell everyone, was the most intense work year of my entire career. I was like taking 10 sales calls, watching every single one, reviewing them, teaching our new guys, helping Cole with the curriculum, helping build the operational infrastructure, like the most intense month. And then June 1st, kind of life got thrown into tailspin. I probably have not sat still as much as I should have over the last 2 years because that's an uncomfortable thing to like come home. So I'm working through all that. But what that taught me is just like the shortness of it all. And you don't know what that last conversations could be. You don't know that, you know, the last thing I did with him was go to a Rays game. And that was something we did a ton growing up. And if I knew that that was the last Rays game, I'd be like, fuck, that is how would I have treated that experience differently? And so I think it's helped me. I put myself in future me's shoes that does not get to do that thing again, or you never know which time you do something. Like Tim Urban's got a great essay on it. Like the last time you'll see your parents and how that number goes down. The last time you'll go skiing, you don't know when that last time will be. So I think that's my big takeaway on all the family stuff. It's when I'm doing these small moments, like the other day, I was having coffee with my girlfriend and our dog, just like watching the sunrise at our new place. And I went inside to like grab something, and I sat there for a second. I go, okay, I'm just going to sit here and put myself in my 80-year-old's shoes who randomly gets to come back for one morning in this exact period of my life. And I sat there and I meditated on it for like 1 minute and like really put myself, and I just opened my eyes. I was like, how much differently would I view this moment from that perspective? And I walked out there and I like saw her and like, wow, look how young she looks. I can't believe that was Luca. That was our first dog together. He was the best one ever. That was our first place together. That was, I didn't know, but in 3 months we were going to have to move somewhere else for whatever reason. And like, I wasn't going to get that sunrise. Wow. Look at that view. That was so incredible. Wow. That was before the agency and before digital writing school, and that accelerated everything. Like, wow, how cool to soak in that moment. And that, I think, is the big way I've changed how I view moments. I now have a perspective that only through loss can I look back on those moments and say how much I would trade to get them again. And so I need to take that painful lesson and say, how do I prevent that in the future by doing that?
Yeah. Alex Lieberman hosted this like grief in founder thing that I went to. And there were two things that I thought were really valuable in that. One was that it was the ability to, the capacity for gratitude that comes after something like that. Because I always had I went right into work after everything happened with my mom. And there was this guilt I had because should I have done that? Should I sit in that more? Like 50 people were in that call talking about very similar things. It's all foundery people who work a lot of hours on all that stuff. So hearing that actually was nice. That's actually a common way to deal with that. The other thing that I heard that I thought was quite useful, and I need to do this more, is like mementos, things that you can kind of carry that are representative. So Alex is a great example. He has a suit jacket from his dad, and any big meeting, I think he wore it at his wedding, some other different stuff, but like anytime he puts on that suit jacket, it's like his way of remembering his father. That's awesome. And this was like 2 weeks ago, so it's caused me to think more about like what's my version of that? Like, what can I pay homage to? I found that.
That's beautiful, Tim.
Yeah,
I need to think about that more.
Yeah. What are you excited for outside of business? It sounds like you have a new spot here.
Yeah.
You're in this incredible relationship. You have a dog. There's a lot of like, I feel like you've been on the road and now you kind of have there's a new phase of permanence.
Yeah. I think I'm still excited to travel, but traveling without having to make the decision of where I'll travel next versus when I'm done, I just go back home. And that was what led to such exhaustion over the last year of not knowing. I'm still getting used to this place. And then if I want to get rid of this place, I have to go redo that. And that became very tiring by the end. So I'm excited for travel for the sake of traveling rather than as a default. And so refreshing my perspective, filming a ton of content when I go and travel, like travel will mean more when it's not the default. And that I'm very excited for. I have a hobby of trying to become a professional DJ. So
how's that going?
Not enough.
You're going to bring that to the webinars?
Not enough volume to really get good at it yet. But I think that over the summer, I'm going to have 9 hours ahead time zone, and I'll have a couple hours in the morning to kind of just play and go hang out with my friends and stuff like that. So
it's so possible. By the way, I have this buddy David who he works at KKR, which is like, I mean, right. that's a job,
definitely.
And I see on his Instagram story all the time. He's DJing like every single weekend, and he's opening for progressively bigger people. I'm like, damn, you're an animal. First of all, like, I don't know how you managed to do those two things. So anyway, mindset support, it's possible. It should be super busy and to go do that.
So that, and then just, simple things, man. I'm excited to cook food at home that I know how my kitchen works. I'm excited to I'm trying to get my resting heart rate below 45.
Yeah.
I'm like obsessed with that as a metric and all the things that go into that, getting my VO2 max up, getting my HRV up, dialing in my sleep, dialing in my diet. Like I want that while being over 200 pounds. So I have like fitness goals that I want to have sub 45 heart rate, run a 6-minute mile and bench 315 in the same day. Like if I can do all those 3 things while my body feels good, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to keep doing that. So I got all these little side quests on top of just getting our business to a level that I'm like, all right, that is not something that I thought was ever possible. And that will be doing over $1 million a month would be something that we've done it one time. We did it in November by like 15 grand. It was the coolest thing. But I was so tired by the end. I was like, we're not going to string those together. Like we're not going to string those levels of effort together. And so I think brute forcing it, touching it, and then coming back down a little bit. I'm like, all right, how do we build that in a way that keeps us there?
Yeah.
That's, I know you said outside of work, but like I got a handful of side quests to support the main quest.
Yeah. How do you spend your money for the side quest? Because I think you're very good at like, I want to learn this skill. I want to like change my life in this way. How do I reduce the time to that outcome using capital?
Personalized coaching always. So I have a DJ coach. not one that I'm working with right now, but
Is that a thing?
yeah, just like educator. Like
Yeah.
I did it more last year, but I kept doing it on like Friday nights when I was tired. And I'd be like, it's the same thing at BlackRock. Like, I know I want to have meetings Friday night, so I'm going to do it then. But like, I'm a morning person. I need to have that thing first thing I do. So when I'm in Amsterdam, and that's where my girlfriend lived when I met her, I'm going to go and I'm going to fire up the DJ coach that I was working with that summer then, but like start my day there. It's like coffee, journal, DJ, 2 hours, no other things. And it's 10 a.m. So it's 1 a.m. Arizona time. And I've already knocked that out. Cool. I'm going to work from noon to 9, more so than I'm going to work from 6 to 4 or whatever I'm doing right now. So paying down to have expert coaching to tighten the feedback loop as much as possible is I've applied that to business. I've applied it to, I played 2 of my earlier obsessions, professional Call of Duty and speed cubing. I was a speed cuber in 5th grade, professional Call of Duty 2 years later in 7th grade. How did I do that? YouTube. All I did was just go, I want to get better at this thing. I'm going to go how to do this thing on YouTube. And I was doing that when I was, 12 years old. And
I texted Daniel before this. I was like, what's like cool, fun stuff we can unpack it? He said, these are 2 words, Rubik's Cube.
yeah. I mean,
this is true, by the way, like video games, like these weird, nerdy things. Like, I mean, because you talk to a bunch of cool people, like, how often does that come up? It's like, oh yeah, I did this crazy thing when I was a kid. I was like number 1,
right.
On Mario Kart or something.
And
it's wild.
My parents enabled that in the best way, in that I was never forced to do anything. And they fully let me play RuneScape for 14 hours a day for 2 years.
Nice.
And what did that make me really good at? Computers, typing, economics. And like
team. Were you a trader?
Yeah, exactly.
At Rock or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Sitting in Falador by the Grand Exchange, just like straight merchant.
Yeah.
And so
I bet you were ripping.
Oh, absolutely. Printing, dude. Printing. And it's so funny to look back on that. It's like now I'm kind of just doing the same thing, but I'm clicking buttons on a computer for the most part. I get on video every once in a while, but like now I get to buy a condo instead of buying, construction-based tasks.
Marginally better.
Exactly. Yeah, marginally better. But they enabled that and never punished it. And I think that as I progress and potentially have a family over next X years, right? That is the one thing that I want to foster in them is a level of immersion in whatever they're interested in and arming them in the best way possible. So, hey, you like the Seattle Seahawks for whatever reason, like we're going to like the Seattle Seahawks and you're going to learn about the world through that lens. So I talk about sports, music, business, and I can't remember the other, but if you teach a kid sports, music, and business they can then see the world in language, sports, music, business, language, and maybe one more. But you let them pick an obsession that they really like in that area. You then help them understand the whole world through that lens, right? So rather than teach a kid about business for the sake of it, I'm going to say he's obsessed with the Seattle Seahawks. Cool. We're going to learn sports. We're going to learn about the owner. What did he do? How does the business itself run? Do the Seahawks make money? Where's the money come from? What are the concession stands? What's the margin on that? Like we're going to learn through that way. We're going to learn about people. How does he manage the whole team? We're going to learn about culture. Go visit that city, immerse yourself in that. And so that is something I see myself talking about and writing about over the long term is like, how do you enable children to immerse in something? And I think AI is going to do a great job in allowing that obsession to be fostered very quickly. And who knows where that's going to be by the time I end up having them. But yes, handful of things that I had a habit of starting later on that thing than most of my friends, getting really good at it really quickly, and then going, I actually want to do a different thing. And business is so interesting because I can do that now. I can get things to a level, replace myself from it. Those machines keep running better than the video game version that I couldn't keep doing.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, another vertical. Let's go 0 to 1 on that. Immerse myself in that. What are all the skills? Well, so full circle on how we've talked about all this.
I love, to me, this is one thing I was thinking about, how important it is to have a content diet. Because I heard a similar version of like, take what your kids are interested in. Cool. That's now your professional interest.
Yeah.
Congrats. Right. This is not like, you got to live through your kids. Like take what your kids want to do that. But what I hadn't heard is like the extension, cool. Well, how do you framework that? Mm-hmm. The other thing is the Seattle Seahawks, cool. Culture, money, business, take that and now it's the best of both worlds. So if you've already done some business, you can apply it in that situation. Now I can just tuck that away. It's like
you need a lens, right?
Yeah.
You need a lens to view the world, right? Maybe it's they like to cook Italian food. All right, we're going to learn what are the best Italian restaurants. Who started those? Let's go to Italy and check that out. Let's look at the origin of it. Where's the history of it? How do we speak the Italian language so you can put your order into the Italian bakery and actually sound legit? Like there's so much, and this is like the value of niching down in business. The second you pick something, the whole world actually opens up. You think it's constrained, but the entire thing becomes a lens through which you see all the different parts now. And so I think the same in business as with educating a kid.
Yeah, I like that. The constraint is often paradox of choice.
Yes.
By choosing nothing,
Yes.
right? That's actually the ultimate issue. I like it. You've had this kind of run up when you think about it in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
You go back, your baby-faced first year of Princeton. Like, what are you telling that guy? What should he know?
So my first year at Princeton was so interesting because I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be a finance, math, computer science. And I remember walking in the football locker room and talking to other people about their major. And they're like, there are no engineers on the team right now. I was like, what? Why? They're like, because it's hard. And so no one does it. I'm like, well, that sounds dumb. I'm gonna try this thing. And I remember I got my first B plus in freshman fall. And was like, oh, this is like big league stuff. I got a B plus in physics. I was like, damn, I thought I was pretty good at this stuff. But I was, playing football the whole season. And I remember making a choice of, there was a fraternity you can join or other whatever things that you could do in that spring. It's like, I'm going to treat myself like a professional student first and a football player second this spring. I got a 4.0, took my first computer science class, loved it. Took my first higher level math probability class, loved it. And all of those things, took my first economics. It was I still could tell you COS 126, first computer science, Econ 100, microeconomics, and math 201, which was multivariate calculus. All three of those things I took in that and got A's in all of them. And I was like, oh, I like this stuff. I like analyzing math, systems, all of this. And the other was a probability based class. So all four of those was bang, 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 bang. I love these. I thought for a second I was going to choose the football path for no other reason than people saying, whatever. High level, I would say worry less about the people that you think are judging you for any of the choices that you're making because they're just not going to matter in the long run and they're not thinking about you nearly as much as you think. And I remember some of the players would be something along the lines of oh, my coach at the time was oh, all you do is school, school. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at football. I'm way better at that, And so not true for everyone else in this room. And so it was, again, me following, and that led to computer science, which led to me getting the internship at BlackRock, which led to, starting to work there, which led to me not wanting to work there, which led to all this, which led us to this conversation. Right. And so I would tell him, keep doing the thing you're doing, and anything that you think is not working out in your favor, from my perspective, I'm 100% happy and glad that it has worked out that way. And that is how I have conversations with my future self too, is something happens. I know that over the long term, I will see the benefit of it. So I should try to start seeing that now. And so I would just tell them that don't get caught up in anything, that you're on the right path. And I wouldn't change my path at all to what got me here. So I would just tell them, keep your head down, do the things that you feel are the right things to go and do, and don't let anyone stray you from that.
I love it. Dude, I appreciate you doing this.
Oh yeah.
This is fun.
This is good. I think,
yeah.
How long we go? Any clue?
I have no idea. I was just going by feeling.
God,
I have very bad eyesight. So
okay.
I was
I hope it recorded. That's all I care about. And so we got, my phone as a backup. We got, the words can never be taken from us, but this was a lot of fun, dude. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is baller. Good stuff. All right, that's the pod.
Boom.
Woo.
Let's go.